Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. No primetime NFL today, but we will go over some more of those wildcard games, continue to chip through them, get some player props out before the weekend. And we're going to run through the entire NBA slate today and, of course, college basketball and any questions you guys have. And we have a little NHL from John. But before we get to that, John, let's take a look back at Wednesday. We just keep winning. I think we're actually pretty good at this kind of thing. 8-4, lots of green checks there. All right. What are we, 2-1 this past week in our NHL props, John?
Yeah, we're positive. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Let's also give a moment for John being in the office right now, and Jake's in the office. This is the most we've all been here in a really long time, so good vibes today. All right, let's head into your pick here. What we were calling him TT before we got on here.
Yeah, we're going to go to a Carolina Hurricanes player here, Teuvo Teravainen. I decided to get the players that were the hardest for Mackenzie to pronounce. So that's why we're choosing him now. We're going under 1.5 shots on goal with Teuvo here. He's only had 3 total shots on goal in his last 5 games. He's hit this under 5 in a row. But the play here is mainly because the Hurricanes are playing the Ducks. I think the Canes are going to go up early, probably go up big. So they're going to sit back and play defensively, in my opinion. I don't think there are going to be too many shots on goal after they go up. So I think this is a great chance at plus 155.
Mm-hmm. I saw, looking in the chat here, Matt F., we got a birthday here. Go Southern, go Jags. Happy birthday, Matt F. Hopefully we can cash some tickets for you. And another great comment from Josh Davis. I'm really starting to enjoy this show more and more every day. I don't know if that's a backhanded compliment or if that's a good thing, but we're going to take it. We're going to take it and run. All right. John, we'll send you in the chat to talk some more NHL here. We'll bring in the boys. We're going to talk about these wildcard games before we get into the NHL slate. So with that said, we're going to start in Kansas City. Dolphins headed to Kansas City. Ugly weather, snow, wind, all of the things we don't want. So we're thinking some short passes here is what we think, right, Steven?
Yeah, I mean, Thurman Smythe, last 4 games, he's got 32, 56, 54, and 30 yards. I like the fact that we're projecting him to go over despite projecting the under in passing yards for Tua and still including Jalen Waddle in the projection, not at 100%, but playing. So given the fact that we're being conservative in Miami's passing game, I still like him. He's been the clear tight end number 1 for them. And, you know, as teams bracket Tyreek and literally triple cover him. You can't stop everything, especially with a dynamic rusher like Devin Achane in the backfield. So he gets open consistently.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move over to the Kansas City side of the ball here. We're going to another tight end. Travis Kelce had some time off. Playoff Travis Kelce, we think is going to come through this weekend.
Yeah, I think Derek's got a lot of numbers that'll probably post there. His increase in targets and is I think it goes up around 20% or 15% in the playoffs versus regular season, but his increase in yardage goes up by even more. So he not only, and this year more than ever, I'm expecting Mahomes to really stick to his trusted targets. And when you can't trust 3 or 4 of your wide receivers, it really comes down to Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce potentially getting 70% of the targets just between the 2 of them. Mm-hmm. So I think and then Kelce did have that week off. He took the week off rather than go for his 1,000 yards. And so I like that as a sign that he's got the rest that he needed.
Derek coming in clutch with the stats here, looking back at 2021, almost 72 regular season yards versus 92 in the playoffs. Pretty similar numbers for his receptions there as well. Before we get into the other prop for this game, Christian had a good question, been following along through the week. If we go to the model, we talked about Singletary's rushing yards for that Houston Browns game. Do we have any value on his carries necessarily to go along with that?
Yeah, we do. I think his carries line yesterday was on 16.5. And yeah, the reason we like his over in yards is because we like him to go over 20. Again, I got burned last week when I said there's no way Singletary gets 100% of the carries. He'd get it maybe 80, and that would leave Dameon Pierce with the 3 or 4 that he needed to go over 12.5. Pierce didn't get any. So Singletary, even though he was averaging 2.5 yards per carry, they gave him the ball over and over again. Every running back carry was from Singletary, so I like him to get over. If the number is still at 16.5, I don't know if it's gone up.
Yeah, you got prize picks. You can get 16.
Prize picks, yeah. But it's looking like Damian Pierce just to kick off the tournament right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know like we didn't have enough viewers yesterday for us to move the line, but it'd be nice if we did.
Yeah, maybe today. And speaking of that, please hit that like button if you are.
Our low ratings are your benefit.
Yes, this is true. All right, let's move. While we're in the model, can we go over to the Chiefs game really quick, looking at Pacheco? His rushing yard total is 64.5. I'm assuming a lot of people think there'll be a lot of ground game this weekend.
Yeah, we aren't projecting. This is a case where I personally don't love the projection that we have, which is pretty conservative. I think it's because everyone assumes that Pacheco, he's a hammer. Miami won't want to tackle him in the cold weather. It could be the coldest game in the NFL history. So I understand that logic. At the same time, I don't like that Pacheco has been hurt, missed a couple games in a row down the stretch, got dinged the other day. So he's not, he could be another hard hit away from missing some snaps. And the bad weather, the cold, obviously I think that Kansas City is more well-equipped than anybody to handle it. But it's still going to impact them. It still could impact them. It could impact the passing game, the number of passes, and then allow Miami's weakened defense to still stack the box, especially if there's only one wide receiver that they have to worry about on defense.
I thought we were about to get an anthropology lesson on the cold effect on muscles.
No, we don't talk about
it. It does feel like an action running back play where it's very hard. You don't like tackling.
We know this game. We've been here before.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, let's move over to one more Chiefs prop here. Going to the other tight end, Noah Gray here, over 9.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, so he averaged 19 yards this year, and the over is 10-5 in his Mahomes games. And he's averaged 3 targets per game down the stretch before Week 18 where they arrested players. And he was easily over in 2 out of 3 games, 37 yards and 17 in 2 of his games. For it to drop down to 9.5, that's your normal odds maker adjustment for player props when you talk about backups. Everyone says, okay, the backups play more in the regular season due to injury and keeping players fresh. But once the playoffs come, teams double down their starters and their trusted targets. I think with the wide receiver problems in Kansas City, that Noah Gray is one of those 3 trusted targets for the team. And if they look to run more, he's a good blocking tight end. And I know there's some really positive indicators that that he and Kelsey play a lot of 2 tight end sets. So again, at 9.5 to have his number go down to half his average for the season, I think that's too much of a drop off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I looked at True Media. It looks around 70% of no gray snaps come in 2 tight end sets out of week 16 and week 17.
The more you know. All right, let's move on to the other game quick. Steelers going to Buffalo, 10-point dogs on the road. Our model makes it just about the same here. One player we do like, though, Jaylen Warren.
Yeah, there's going to be massive wins. I think they're still calling for 50-mile-per-hour gusts. So I expect both teams to run more than pass. Jaylen Warren, he did have a fumble last week against Baltimore. Baltimore, there was a kind of a freezing rain. It was really horrible conditions, a lot of fumbles in that game. 3 fumbles by both teams. So in this case, he averages for the last 33 games, 16 road games, he's averaged 11 more rushing yards on the road than at home as the team just looks to run more and keep the ball out of their questionable quarterback's hands. He's averaged over 46 this season, over is 7-3 down the stretch. And the Bills' defensive injuries that they suffered early in the year, it's impacted their yards per carry allowed. It's gone up from 4.3 to 4.6 this season. And the Steelers average 6 more rush attempts per game on the road. So there's only so much you can hammer with Najee Harris.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this line's going to start to go up towards kickoff? I feel like it will.
I think so. I mean, most of the books are at 36.5. So this was just a short-term kind of act now at, fanatics.
Yeah. Jake saying he's waiting on Shakir lines to drop. Someone else asking about Dalton Kincaid. Love that play. My NFL crush, Kincaid. All right, moving on. That's neither here nor there. Josh Allen, over 37.5 rushing yards. Christian in the chat asking about his rush attempts. Do these coincide with each other?
Yeah, I mean, so his rushing attempts and yards are down for most of the season, but recently, with the coordinator change and the team running more in general and them having to win, Josh Allen is reverting back to his career level of rushing. So, yeah, he had 15 last week or 11 and 15 his past 2 weeks. So I don't know what his line is, but in our model, we only have him at a little under 9. So I think that's conservative. I think he'll actually have more than 9. And we definitely love the over in this case. I do also think this is a low number that you're going to get now because it posted 40.5 on the fade early this morning. So I could see this going up.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of quarterbacks running, none other than Mason Rudolph. Obviously, we have to address him. Over 4.5 rushing yards. We have him projected for 6, which relative is a lot of value.
So in bad weather in Baltimore, Mason Rudolph was oblivious to the pass rush, it seemed like, of Baltimore. And on back-to-back plays, he got sacked and fumbled. He lost the second one. This was as they were trying to score in the first half. I think that they're going to say, Mason, you got to take off. The Buffalo pass rush, they went from 2.4 sacks per game at home last season to 3.4 this season. They're obviously going to watch the Mason Rudolph film, and they're going to see that he has kind of a blind spot to pass rushers, and so they're going to go for the ball. So I think there's going to be some tips to say go ahead and run when you can. Back in 2021, when he had 2 starts, he ran for 17 and 36 yards. So again, I'm just thinking that based on recency and what happened against Baltimore, he'll want to take off at least twice.
I couldn't love this play more. I'm so all over the one scramble that we root for.
Yeah.
I think even me and you in the office in I think it was September, October, asking Russell Wilson to move 9 yards, and we're like,
Derek Carr over at the wharf. I remember that.
Yeah. To prove how tough he is. That's
There's
another one.
no
When you want to show how tough you are, and it's a massive, ugly game, there's nothing better that a quarterback could do than run and shoulder up somebody, some safety.
Mason Rudolph has to figure something out. He cannot just stand still with his feet in cement in the pocket anymore.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the NBA. 5 games on the slate tonight. We have value in just about all of them, but we'll go in order. I saw some questions. I'll try to hit them as those games come up, but we'll start with the Nets going to Cleveland. We have Cleveland as 10-point favorites here, and we like their team total.
Yeah, this game is being played in Paris. Starts in 45 minutes or so. So the Paris thing throws me. But I like Cleveland over 114.5. It is expected to be a relatively close game. So either the model's right and Cleveland wins by scoring a lot of points, or maybe it's close and there's a good chance of overtime. Been lucky the last two Bulls games to get covers based in overtime from those teams. So depending on your opinion of gambling, either someone upstairs likes me or someone downstairs likes me. But either way, they're manipulating outcomes. Brooklyn away from home allows 119, which is 5 more points than they do in their own building. They allow plus 4% 3-point percentage higher on the road. And Cleveland average, has scored well the last 4 games. Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert are stepping up offensively in the absence of the guys that are injured for them.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't see any questions on this game here right now. Oh, we got Molly in the chat. Okay. Shout out Jake's girlfriend. All right. Let's move on to Boston going to Milwaukee. I saw Big Cheesy, I think, talking about Brooke Lopez over here, if we have any value on him, but we do like the Celtics to cover in general.
Yeah, it's kind of fading Milwaukee's bad defense this year. They're allowing a much higher defensive field goal percentage from the 2-point range, and they're allowing 6 more points per game. The Celtics played last night. It was a tough game. They rested Porzingis, and I'm thinking that maybe they rested him for this matchup. No one would think that the pressure's all on Milwaukee, because if Milwaukee wins at home against Boston, they're supposed to win at home against Boston. Even if they blew them out, they're supposed to kind of do that if Boston's playing on a back-to-back. But if Boston and Drew Holiday go back in there and beat Milwaukee, especially if Holiday plays well, then they can really, I think, emotionally rattle that Bucks team, which is kind of hanging by a thread right now. So I like that kind of, that kind of motivation and the tightness that it might result in Milwaukee's end.
Mm-hmm. Let's head to the model quick. We'll look at Brooke Lopez here, but Jeff, good point asking about guards in general against the Bucks, who seem to find success. If we have any Derek White value.
What's his line for points, dribbles, and assists? It wasn't coming in earlier today because I know Jaylen Brown is banged up. Porzingis' status, I didn't see the lines up for all those players. We don't have a huge game projected for Derek White because the Bucks, their defense, I assume I'm not breaking down their film on a daily basis, but in terms of field goal percentage allowed, they're actually doing well defensive 3-point percentage. It's the 2-point percentage that have been penetrating. So that leads me to believe that people are just going right around Dame, and so So that's where the vulnerability comes in. So you may not see huge points from the guards because their 3-point percentage may not be as high as you would think.
Right. And then another question about Beasley here. I think his line was 8.5 points.
We do have value on Malik Beasley at over 11 points projected. He, the Dame missed the last game, and he scored 17. And he shot 5 for 8 from 3. He's a very streaky shooter, and he seems to be definitely in one of his better streaks. 5 for 8, 5 for 8, 4 for 8, 2 for 5, 2 for 4, 1 for 1, 5 for 8. So 50% or better in all of his last 7 games from 3.
All right, good stuff there. Let's head over to our next game. We don't have any model value necessarily. If anyone has questions on this game with Portland going to OKC, I know Jake talked about Lou Dort potentially again. I'm not opposed.
I'm seeing right now if we have value on Lou Dort. It's prop line's 10.5. We have him at 12.2. Got to hammer Dort again.
All right.
The only reason I don't have model value, Mackenzie, is because Oklahoma City is traveling from Miami, had a good road win, and you never know how that impacts the team.
Bold move. Nick S going back to Giddey assists. He is on our blacklist right now. So it's gonna be a no.
I didn't watch carefully. I'm not sure why I didn't play him more.
It's game to game. It's so weird. His usage is so weird.
Yeah. That wasn't on my bingo card for that game. I took his PRA, assuming he played 25 minutes.
I like the over because they obviously sat him. He didn't play nearly as many minutes as we expected. The other guys did, so maybe this is the Giddey game. And he does shoot a lot better at home, so maybe I'll just go to the court more.
All right, well, let's move on to some other games we do have some value on. Bang! Knicks going to Dallas. No Luka tonight, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
no Derek Lively.
Yeah, which is big. So there's Dallas doesn't have anyone who will replace Luka's rebounding production. And Lively, the players that will get more minutes with Lively out are not nearly as high in rebounding rate. So we have the Knicks, who are a good rebounding team, just crushing Dallas on the boards. My theory is Jalen Brunson's had 4 straight games with exactly 3 rebounds, but they've all been coast games where they've been killing teams by at least 15 points. So he hasn't had to work very hard on that end. This is his revenge game, his opportunity to just completely obliterate Kyrie in every dimension. And before this recent stretch where they're blowing teams out and playing a lot of garbage time, again, he was getting 3 rebounds. Before that, he was getting the over 3.5 was 9 and 2. So he's been rebounding the ball well, just recently hasn't had to.
Right. Then Jake has 2 props in this game as well. We're a lot of love for the Knicks tonight. And Nick S on DiVincenzo over 11.5 points. I like that. Little Villanova love for Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out.
Yeah, I think it's a really good matchup for Randall. We have him projected for 10.2 rebounds, and he's averaging 4 assists since OG Anunoby's been on the team. There's definitely more floor space because RJ Barrett and Julius Randle pretty much do the same thing. They're lefties who like to drive the ball, occasionally shoot a 3, not very effectively. But I think that I really like our model projection of Randall rebounds. You could get him at a double-double at plus 115 on most sports books. Some of them have him at plus 105, so I'd shop around. But I just really like this matchup for Randall.
Mm-hmm. And then what about our guy OG?
OG is kind of
a lot of work on him, Jake. I feel like he's been like under your microscope for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, OG kind of ties in with the Randall. Got to kick it out to him for 3 and give him the assist. So it's kind of a correlated plays right here. We have him projected for 2.4 threes. This is I use the Odds Jam Fantasy Optimizer play for this, and because this line was up to minus 140 in some books, so you're getting pretty good value minus 120 on Bet Rivers.
Yeah. Plenty of love to go around for the Knicks. Let's move on to another game here. Suns headed to the Lakers. Practically a pick 'em right now. We have some value on the Lakers, but we like AD the best here.
Yeah, this is we have the exact same projection as the 1.5 line, but at plus 135, that's a lot of value. I'm leaning over because a lot of them. Anthony Davis is playing a ton of minutes, and in this marquee matchup against Phoenix, I expect that, barring injury, to continue. He's had 40, 39, 41, and 43 minutes recently. So I'm also hoping that teams that like to pass, share the ball, like Golden State in their prime, they actually have a lot of turnovers. So I'm banking on the Suns' big 3, trying to show that They're in sync with each other. They're not selfish. So they'll be handling the ball, a lot of passing, but at the same time, they barely play together. So maybe there's some bad chemistry, opportunity for some tip balls and 2 steals for Anthony Davis.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got steals from Austin Reeves the other night, so maybe just keep it going with the team. Can we look at the model for my guy Austin Reeves real quick while we're at it?
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised you don't have it like tattooed on you.
Yeah, maybe
right.
soon.
Austin Reeves. What's the
line? More
for
attached to him or Trey Murphy right now?
Yeah, we don't have value on his points, rebounds, and assists this game.
All right, whatever. His time will come. All right, let's move on quick. We're running out of time, but Jake has a college basketball parlay for us we want to get to. I saw people asking about Hofstra in the chat, oddly. It's kind of a niche question, but we move. Hofstra plus Southern Miss money line.
Hofstra is just 7-7, but they're one of the better non-major power. They're one of the better mid-major teams. They have 2 really good players with Tyler Thomas and Darlington Dubar, but I'm surprised that the line actually went down from 5.5 to 4.5 in this game. It's a little concerning because maybe there's an injury that we don't know about that Vegas knows about, but it might just be Lucas Sakota for Northeastern. He missed their last game. He's their second, or I think he might be their leading scorer this year. He's a transfer from Harvard. I think he might be playing. He missed their last game, so that's maybe why it moved in the direction of Northeastern. But the model loves Hofstra here. We have them winning by 11. So covering easily. And
do you know why they went from being so good on the road last year to not so good this year?
They played a crazy schedule, a road schedule. So they played St. John's, UNLV, Duke, Iona. They just played a crazy tough road schedule.
Right.
Josh has been asking about Old Dominion a little bit in the chat. Do we have any thoughts on that? Did you answer?
So this is an interesting one because I downgraded Old Dominion today because the model loves them from last season. They were really good. I think on the road, and Georgia State was terrible altogether. But they've kind of flipped this year. Mm-hmm. Old Dominion's 0-7, 1-6 ATS on the road this season. And Georgia State has had a couple big wins this season. So if this game was last year, I'd really like Old Dominion, but I don't really trust it this season.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. One more question I want to address quick from Nick. We talked about AD steals, but you can get a steals and blocks at 3.5 at -115. Do we like that play as well?
Yeah. Steals and blocks. We have them projected for 3.8. So but not I think so. Yep.
All right.
We have that there.
Good stuff there. Appreciate a very active chat today. As always, all we want to do is answer your guys' questions and help you guys out. Here is a recap screen looking at tonight's slate with the NHL, NBA, and college basketball. Take a look at that. And then here are the NFL plays that we have later this weekend. Hopefully we'll start cashing those too. Tomorrow we will go through the rest of those wild card games. So even more to get through, lots of ways to make money. Get ready with your questions. We're happy to answer those for Wildcard Weekend, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 1.